How much do your thoughts influence other people? Have you ever wondered? Have you actually thought about and been curious about what is your specific person thinking and feeling when you are manifesting them? A lot of you have heard videos that have simply said to you they're thinking and feeling whatever you assume they're thinking and feeling, but is that really enough for us to judge by? Does it go deeper than this? Because many of you would have noticed certain inconsistencies. How do we get this going? Is this really a thing, or is it just luck of the draw and coincidences? I mean, what happens when you've thought of someone, a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, only to have them call you back or call you for the first time in years? Or what about when you're thinking of a song and you're humming it and then suddenly you switch on the radio and there it is being played? Or you're recalling an old memory with your specific person and then next thing you know they've gotten in touch with you and they've suggested let's meet up at the same coffee shop that you were just imagining in your head. Is it coincidence, or is there a deeper connection at play here? Well, what if I was to tell you that there is a way to tap into this hidden connection and to use it to manifest your desires? And to understand it, we're going to have a look and delve into the science, the psychology, the spirituality, because you know what I'm like. I like to delve in from all areas to really gain an understanding, because many of us are very logic driven, logic minded, including myself. And so this does help to gain a deeper understanding, a deeper level, so that we can use it effectively, because by exploring this whole notion of thought transmission, telepathy and manifestation, we can uncover how our intentions can impact others. And it's not merely by mirroring our assumptions, but we can forge real connections that transcend the conventional understanding. So you can understand why I want to delve in quite deep. And you see, in this world where there's so many misconceptions and misunderstandings, I'm here to hopefully cut through the noise. And using my 20 years of experience in the esoteric, as well as years of studying modalities of therapy, we're going to look into the neuroscience, quantum theory, and also some incredible findings with telepathy in that of autistic children as well. So trust me, this is not your typical they're thinking what you're thinking and what you assume they're thinking, the spiel that you've heard over and over again that just touches the surface level. No, we're going deeper, as we always do. So if you really want to gain a proper understanding of this, if you're serious about learning and getting results, because all of you do, that's why, because you're all serious about learning, then stay with me until the end, because I've got some great pearls of wisdom here and I'm going to be dropping them. So you better start collecting like Johnny Depp collects quirky hats. Does that work? Does he collect hats? He seems to have a good collection. Rings, like he collects rings. And you might discover some secrets in this video that just sets you apart from the rest of the crowd. So are you ready? Grab yourself a hot drink, guys, and sit back and relax. I'm going to tell you a little story, or a few things that have been happening that I've noticed that inspired me for this video. So cheers, everybody. We got that Friday feeling going on. So I know usually Friday is dedicated to my successes. I think I'm only really going to be able to delve into maybe one video a week. So bear with me, guys, because it's just been a very, very busy month or something. But I promise that the amount of research and effort that I've put into making this video as well-rounded as possible, it's taken me some time, and I thought it was important to share because it's something that we're all curious about. All of you have experienced this. Now I want to share this personal sort of story as well that illustrates the profound impact that our thoughts can have on others. So just recently I noticed that when I enter a very sort of relaxed, passive state, I'm not trying to relax, I'm not forcing a meditation upon myself. I'm literally just in a very sort of passive state where I just kind of shut off from the world and I go within myself. My thoughts tend to reach specific people much more fluidly and effortlessly. Does it happen every single time? No, I've not noticed that yet, but I can definitely say that the frequency of it has become so much now that it's just undeniable. So for example, last night, I like with every meal I have, this is why I had to manifest weight loss. I have a very sweet tooth. My addiction is chocolates, cakes, you name it. And I always have cravings for chocolate, but I need quite an amount of chocolate to suffice. So I had this little twirl bar, and it just wasn't going to do it for me, basically. So I was sitting next to Joseph, and I sort of silently, lazily in my mind, it's like I couldn't be bothered to speak. I just said to him in my mind, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had some ice cream? Can you order some? It's literally like just kind of putting it out there, not even trying. It was literally like I just decided in that moment to have a conversation with him in my mind. And I kid you not, literally like a second later, he took out his mobile phone and he just said that he was just going to order some ice cream. It's not something that we do regularly. And it was ridiculous hour because we work all hours. So it's like 1 a.m. or something like that. But he actually got out, ordered it on Uber Eats. And I was like, what's just happened here? You know, was this just a coincidence, or am I secretly an ice cream whisperer? The thing is, this that I'm sharing with you is not an isolated incident. It's been happening a lot more frequently lately. With him, it's happening more and more than I've ever experienced with anyone else, I must admit, although I have experienced it with others, of course. But I don't know, there's been countless times now where I've thought about something, or even if it's something simple, like I fancied something. Even he's done it to me as well when I was at the shops once, and he'd said he'd checked to see if he'd had any raises, and he didn't, but he didn't get around to texting me about it, and I just got this compulsion to just purchase these razors for him. I don't even know where the idea came from, but when I came back, he was like, oh my God, how did you know? And we've done that a few times to each other as well. So I've also noticed this even on our Discord community, actually, and this happened recently, and it's been happening a lot more. And some of you will know what I'm talking about, because some of you as well have emailed me, and I've said to you in response to your emails, are you reading my mind? Like literally, because when I had the idea to do this video, I decided that I wanted to make it more robust than the typical videos that you get on thought transmission, and they're thinking what you're thinking and just kind of fobbing it off like that. I wanted to go deeper. And so I had decided this is what I want to do, but I want to make it a bit more. And I was kind of imagining it, planning it as you do. And then someone on our Discord, suddenly out of nowhere, it had nothing to do with anything that we were discussing. And you know who you are, darling. But she brought up the Telepathy tapes. Maybe some of you have heard this. It's a podcast. And this was, after I'd been planning this video. So I sort of said to her, what? Initially, she sent the link to Joseph. And I was like, hang on, this is what I've been imagining. That can you send it over to me? And so again, it was incredible how I influence. She's based all the way in the States. So you can influence people that you've never met in person. You can influence strangers. You can influence your loved ones. Of course, I notice it more with Joseph because we're with each other all the time. We have that close bond. So maybe that encourages more of a frequency of it. But there's certainly something happening, right? I mean, these experiences that I mentioned, and all of you have had these experiences yourself. Share them in the comment section, because I really want to hear, what was your experience of thought transmission? All of you have had them. I mean, these experiences that we're all having, right? They kind of tell us that the thoughts can influence in ways that just go beyond your simple assumptions or your mere reflections of your beliefs, right? It's a subtle and powerful exchange that's taking place, a transmission of intention that others receive and act upon. So it goes even further than they're thinking what you're thinking, right? And often this is happening without us even realizing. It's just so natural and fluid. And that's why, as well, because of this interaction, this constant interaction that we're having on a subconscious level, this is why we say there is no such thing as no contact. Do you see now? I mean, you've heard these things before, but no one explains it to you in the ways that I'm intending to explain it, so you can get absolute clarity. Now, I really want to hear about, like I said, your own examples of this fascinating phenomenon. So please jot them down. Let's have a look now into physics and quantum entanglement, which in quantum mechanics, you've heard that entangled particles remain connected, so that the state of one instantly influences the state of another, no matter the distance or space, the time between them. One affects the other immediately, and the phenomenon is it was coined by Einstein as a spooky action at a distance, which Einstein was a bit freaked out at the time by this, because of course it challenged his concepts on relativity, but it hints at a fundamental interconnectedness of everything that's in the universe. So imagine that you've got two coins that are magically connected. If you flip one coin and it lands on heads, the other coin, no matter where it is, will also land on heads too, even if it's on the other side of the universe, and it will happen at that exact same moment. That's what quantum entanglement is essentially saying. So wouldn't it be nice if we could somehow harness this entanglement to get the universe to work in our favor? Now, you're probably thinking, okay, how does this concept of quantum entanglement, how does that relate to thought transmission? Well, quantum entanglement does suggest at the deepest level that everything in the universe is interconnected. And this means that separation could be more of an illusion than a reality. And again, you've heard that thrown about the place as well. Oh yes, reality is an illusion, separation is an illusion. But do you see how having a deeper understanding of this makes the conscious mind accept it more? Because you hear this stuff, but it's not going in anymore. It just becomes noise. It just becomes words, and no one explains it because not many people understand this. They're just regurgitating it. So it's really important to delve in. This is why separation is an illusion. The idea that particles, as physics is stating, particles can be connected across vast distances. And some thinkers propose that our minds, which are made up, or our brains being made up of the same particles and energy, might also be connected in ways that we don't fully understand. And that makes sense, right? Everything is connected. Everything that makes up this universe is made up of the same particles. So just as entangled particles can share a state, it's theorized that humans might share thoughts and emotions across distances. In fact, we have experienced that. So there you go. For those of you who are worried because the SP you're manifesting is far away, or they're not in your life at the moment and there's no contact, think again. Think again. So it's quite fascinating, because if entangled particles can affect each other instantly, then stands to reason that perhaps our thoughts can influence each other instantly as well, which explains moments of why when you think of someone, they end up calling you straight after. The idea is not that our brains are literally quantum entangled, but as we all come from this one source of consciousness, then it kind of makes sense that this entanglement is sort of symbolizes the profound connections between all things, including all of our minds. So quantum entanglement can challenge, therefore, the notion that only things in close physical proximity can affect each other. And this opens up possibilities for understanding how thought transmission can occur without the need for physical contact. So I want to also just as well to be transparent with you guys, as I always am, because I'm always open and honest. Whilst quantum entanglement is a proven phenomenon in itself in physics, there is currently, at this moment in time, from what I know, from what I could research, that there is no scientific evidence that directly links it to human thought or telepathy, but it is fun to be able to explore this, and it does make sense that it would. Quantum entanglement inspires us to think about the universe's interconnectedness. And it's that interconnectedness that makes us that makes the whole process of manifesting certain outcomes with certain situations and people the easier to grasp, because a lot of you think it's harder, but we definitely do have this interconnectedness. And it's this concept in physics is encouraging open-minded exploration of concepts like thought transmission because of it. So I thought it was worth mentioning and delving into here. Now we'll go into the neuroscience perception. And I find this quite fascinating as well. Mirror neurons, which many of you have already heard of. Special brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else doing the action. They were first discovered in studies with monkeys, where neurons in the brains were activated both when they were grasping an object and also when they saw another monkey grasping the object. The mirror neurons, they help us to understand and empathize. So we can understand and empathize with each other, simulating, other people's actions and emotions into our own brains. Again, proving this connectedness with all human beings. And they're thought to be the basis of how we learn through imitation and how we develop empathy. Now, when you experience, and this is the power of these mirror neurons and this energy between us all, when you experience strong emotions, to say you just have a really bad day, something happens that really piss you off, but you know that you've got to, I don't know, go in and face others, or you're putting on a brave face for those around you. Yet your friends know something's up, or someone picks up on your energy, and they just read on the subtle kind of cues, your body language, your facial expressions, your tone of voice, and you're expressing that something's wrong, even if you're not consciously aware of it. That's why they're like, oh, are you all right? You're all right. Don't you look a little bit off? Or just like, oh, damn, I thought I was putting on a brave face. But when you can still sense that something is up with the person. And this especially is actually how I connect and create such profound changes with my clients, especially through video sessions, because I'm literally not just reading and analyzing the words that they say to understand what's happening at subconscious level, but I'm also gauging their body language, facial expressions, even to where their eyes are going as well. It tells me a lot. And those of you who've worked with me, you know what I'm talking about. This is how I get into it at such a deep, profound level to make such effective change, because we give a lot away, even if we don't realize that we're doing it. And this is why, people ask you if you're okay, even if you think you're putting on a brave face, or the reason why your SP can tell that you're just leaking of this desperate energy, even if you're trying to play it cool around them. I mean, we've all been there, right? When you're acting like James Bond on the outside, but you're feeling like a Mr. Bean on the inside. Maybe not everyone will know who Mr. Bean is, but you know what I'm talking about. So this is why I say to you guys, and especially in relation to what dating coaches might teach you too, which is like, yes, you must go no contact, and you must not speak to them first, and you must, whatever it is, this playing of hard to get. This is less important. The actions that you take is less important. It's about the mindset behind the actions, because that energy is going to be sensed. We're going to be mirroring something to people on a subconscious level, communicating on a deeper subconscious level we're not even aware of. So this is why you've really got to focus within, because mirror neurons in others respond to these cues, causing them to feel similar emotions or to sense that something's up. So if you're therefore embodying the state of feeling, say if it's a specific person you want for a relationship, then you're stepping into that state of positivity and love and security in relation to that specific person. Then even if you're not physically near them at the time, this emotional energy could very well influence your interactions when you do connect with them, when your paths finally do cross, or when they do message you. And your specific person as well, as we've experienced numerous times and seen through people's success stories, can subconsciously pick up on your feelings, which leads to a deeper connection and thoughts of them just coming from nowhere, that they're starting to miss you, they're starting to think of you more. And this is why inner conversations, by the way, with your SP can be a game changer, because it's about radiating that irresistible vibe, not having arguments internally, right? It's all about this internal shift and this energy that is being radiated, mirrored out. So this is why as well, you really engage and connect with people. Those of you who have picked a specific person for a relationship and you're really attached to them, it's because on some level you've connected with someone who you feel is like you in some way. They understand you in some way. They've been through the same things. You've got a lot of similarities. It's someone that you perceive that is positive and confident. So by cultivating a more loving, positive, confident sort of internal state, you're going to become more attractive and influential to everyone, not just your SP, but to everyone around you. That's why we've got to always focus within in all of this. So you're getting it. Neville Goddard has always emphasized that imagination is a divine force that's capable of manifesting desires into reality. And by vividly imagining and feeling that desired outcome, we then align ourselves with the reality that we wish to create. He encapsulates this idea really, really well with his words: assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and observe the route that your attention follows. So this means, I mean, from that we can take that if you embody the state of your fulfilled desire, for example, then you're going to set into motion events that will then bring it into fruition. That's why we go through that bridge of events. So we've set it off in that motion, in that moment that I've embodied my wish fulfilled. All of the dominoes start falling one by one to bring me to my end result. And the key is the embodiment, the actual shift in your consciousness. It's not about, and this is where a lot of people get this idea of thought transmission wrong, it's not about dictating specific thoughts or actions to others. When you live in the state of the end, you're naturally going to influence the world around you. This is why we say about doing it passively. This is why we say about don't control the 3D. There is nothing outside of you. Always do it within, because once you've shifted your state internally, naturally the external world around you is going to start to shift and change. And you have to understand as well that although this change is happening, it's going to occur, it's going to take a route that could potentially unfold in very unexpected ways to you. And this is so important to keep in mind. This is so important for you guys to know. Are you still with me? Stay with me through this. Like I say, there's some really important pearls of wisdom that I'm dropping here that you don't really hear in many places. It's important to remember this, because the way that it's being taught at the moment, it's given many of you the notion that this is about some sort of controlling, like you're controlling puppets on a string. I'm going to project these thoughts and do the whisper method to project these thoughts onto my SP and make them text me and make them do this by tomorrow and make them buy me flowers and stuff. And it's not like controlling puppets in any way. I've done a video on this in more detail, which I think is like manifesting a specific person is an improv, not a puppet show. I'll put the link below. But this is where many of you mess up with affirming to try and control the outside or to try and control other people's behaviors. And because of this, what happens is we end up losing sight of the end. You know, the universe doesn't like to be micromanaged, right? And if we're all the time affirming or imagining to change the steps in the middle to get them to think a certain way and behave a certain way, we're completely missing the point here. So you've got to focus on embodying your desires rather than obsessing over the specifics that we cannot control. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean you're not going to get what you want. It just means that you don't dictate every action, every thought of other people in order to bring this about. And that's okay. We're okay with that. Now, you've all seen, like I've mentioned a couple of times in this video already, that manifestation coaches tend to say, okay, they're thinking and feeling whatever you assume they're thinking and feeling. I mean, hands up. How many of you have been subject to this? I have seen this many, many times. And as you know, I'll always speak from experience. And I can say from 20 odd years of experience and manifesting numerous SPs, it's not as straightforward as that. When you're manifesting a relationship with your SP, it is essential to recognize that whilst your thoughts and intentions do influence them, they absolutely do, you do not control their every move or their every thought. For instance, you might assume that your SP is missing you, even if they're currently with the third party or they're currently still annoyed with you. But by shifting your state of being and embracing the knowledge that you're loved and vividly, like I say, imagining that joyful reunion, you're going to naturally generate thoughts from that state. That's what happened to me when I was manifesting my SPs, and I've shared the journey with you, how I embodied the state. I knew they were coming back, and quite randomly, I was just living my life, but quite randomly I would get these thoughts of, I wonder if they're missing me. I know they're thinking of me. I don't know. I just kind of knew. It was an innate knowing. I wonder if he's driving around trying to see if he can bump into me. And every time when they came back, they reflected these thoughts one at a time. Even like I say, a couple of them reflecting that they thought I put a spell on them and stuff. So These were the thoughts that were being reflected. It was the thoughts that had arisen from the very natural state that I was occupying, the state of being loved, being missed, knowing my worth and value, feeling safe and secure in relation to that person. Do you see what I mean? Do you see the difference here? These are the thoughts that will be reflected back to you, but it's the thoughts coming from your state. It's not the thoughts that you are pushing onto yourself with anxious affirmations or forced stories that you keep telling yourself, but you're struggling to accept it. It's what you accept on the subconscious level. That's why it's important to go deeper. That's why I use these modalities of therapy and hypnosis to go in deeper, insert direct into the subconscious level. Because if you're messing around with the conscious mind still very much active, it's just going to keep on fighting you. So when you shift your state naturally and you have these harmonious thoughts, and that's how you know you've shifted your state, by the way. That's why I say leave your thoughts alone, because when you've shifted, wow, my thoughts are more harmonious in relation to my desire. It doesn't mean that I won't have the odd anxious thought or negative thought, but my dominant thoughts are going to be quite natural. And then I'm going to start to notice things shifting and happening, like my SP might reach out, or maybe I'm going to hear some news from a mutual friend that says that, oh, I bumped into so-and-so and they said that they're thinking of you, or however it's going to be. The reflection will happen as a result of your inner state. It's your inner state that influences the energy that you project. And this subtly affects other people. And however, it's also important to understand that this influence is not control. Because people think that there's some sort of contradiction here when they say you can manifest a specific person. Manifesting a specific person is not about controlling them. You're not controlling them ever. You're controlling yourself. That's all you can do. That's all that we've ever been able to do. I'm not controlling the outside. I'm controlling myself. I am the cause. This is the effect. So not controlling the effect. Okay, go to the source of the where the change work needs to be. Remember, you're the writer of your script and you direct it, but this is not a puppetry with people on strings. The way that the performance is played out is through improvisation. So keep that in mind in case things happen and your projected, I don't know, thoughts and beliefs are not being reflected back to you in the way that you expect at the time that you expect. And like I said, I've got a video in more detail about this and how each person has their own complex inner world that's shaped by their own beliefs. And yeah, we have to bring that in, you know. Otherwise that would be a very strange world if we could control everyone like puppets, you know. But they have their own intentions, and that's a good thing too. It keeps things interesting, and manifestation is involving an interplay of energies. It's not just yours, but it's also that of your SP and the surrounding circumstances. Your influence, you've got to think of it, is just a small piece of a larger mosaic. And that's why I say to you, we don't control the bridge, don't even figure out the bridge of events, because that's already taken care of. You, myself, everyone on this planet, we are just merely tiny droplets that make up the vast ocean of consciousness. So keep that in mind. Your assumptions can lead to reflective thoughts and actions, but it doesn't mean that every thought you have is going to be mirrored exactly back. Dr. Wayne Dyer puts it really eloquently when he said you cannot always control what goes on the outside, but you can always control what goes on the inside. And I think that's something that I always choose to remember in times when I'm feeling really anxious about what's happening in my 3D reality. At least it's like, you know, I can't control this, but I can definitely control what's going on in here. And what state am I occupying in here if I want this to change? Now, understanding that you can't control everything actually creates a sense of preciousness about the things that you can. You know, your thoughts and actions. It makes your, I don't know about you, but it makes your internal work feel more valuable. I don't know, do you feel that as well? Anyway, have you still got your hot drink? And you're still sitting with me. Are you still with me on this? Because I know it's a lot to take in. Like I say, we're coming at it from all angles. But I want to share something quite interesting. How many of you have come across these telepathy tapes? It's really quite fascinating. And I love this kind of stuff. There was a bit of drink left. You know when you take a sip and then you like put it down and it just splashed in my eye. Bit of coffee in my eye. I'm going to do my pirate impression, matey. My goodness. So for those of you who've listened, maybe some of you haven't, I'll just kind of bring to light a couple of things that came about, a couple of case studies from the telepathy tapes. And there was one with this little Mia. Mia was a 12-year-old girl from Mexico, and she was diagnosed with non-speaking autism. And for years, her family believed that she was, you know, just incapable of any communication beyond just basic gestures. It was the only way they could communicate. However, everything changed when Mia began using an iPad and a letterboard to express herself. Initially, actually, her mother and her cousin were sort of amazed because they came about that she was able to read and spell out words that were far beyond what they ever thought was possible. And the most extraordinary revelation actually came when Mia demonstrated the ability to perceive thoughts from her mother without any verbal or physical cues. And it began when Mia told her mother that she could read her mind. And her mother, I think it was Ilana, was actually quite skeptical about this at first, but she decided to put it to the test. And one morning when she entered Mia's room, she said that she was thinking about a purple bag, and without any prompt, Mia typed in purple bag in her iPad, which was accurately reflecting her mother's unspoken words at the time. So to explore Mia's abilities even further, the neuroscientist Dr. Diane Hennessy, I can't remember her very last name. If any of you have seen it, you know anyway. But she conducted a series of tests under controlled conditions. I think she did this with all of them. And they would use a random number and word generator. And this doctor would generate these random numbers and words using the devices that Mia had never seen before. And Mia was blindfolded, and she's using a very specialized mask called a mindfold, and that blocks out all the visual input. And then Mia's mother would look at the random numbers or the words, and without, again, any physical contact or visual cues, Mia's ability to accurately type every number, every word that her mother was viewing in multiple trials, by the way. It wasn't just one off or anything, multiple times. In fact, her accuracy was said to be 100%. There were also various other tests conducted, but I'm just going to highlight this particular one just to give you guys an idea, because I came across this, I was listening to it, and I was like, this is absolutely incredible. And how is it that say these non-verbal, these children with autism have this ability to tap into something that we don't tap into so regularly. We're not so aware, we're not so tuned into. This is what was really fascinating me about these telepathy tapes. I mean, the implication of this is that Mia's case, I suppose you could say, suggests that there's a mind-to-mind communication with her mother that, I mean, truly it transcends conventional understanding. Her ability to access information without sensory input challenges current scientific paradigms about perception and consciousness, doesn't it? It goes against the grain of everything that we know. And Mia's case exemplifies a profound level of telepathy or shared consciousness, which opens doors, I suppose, to a new discussions that could be had in neuroscience and psychology about the true capabilities of the human mind. You see how limited we are made to believe that we are. And these sorts of things are not as regularly shared. But I wonder if we were open to it and taught in schools and at an early age to harness our power, perhaps we'd all be talking to each other for the most part telepathically. Maybe. There was also another case study that was really cool. It was Akil with a shared consciousness with his mother. And as a young man from New Jersey, he was diagnosed with non-speaking autism as a toddler. And for many, many years, his parents believed that he had very limited cognitive abilities. You know, he couldn't speak and he couldn't communicate traditionally in any way. But everything changed when he got to about the age of 11, and Akil started to communicate through supported typing at a new school. And it was really kind of cool because his mother began to notice instances where Akil just seemed to know what she was thinking. Akil would accurately describe places, for example, that his mother had visited without him, by the way, such as trips to like Walmart or Target, and she'd never mentioned these places to him. He also knew details about items that she had intended to purchase, but then decided against for whatever reason. So this kind of shows these thoughts are being transmitted even at a distance. And whilst his mum was in the basement watching a movie as well, this was another thing that happened. A movie about an athlete with an amputated leg. Apparently Akil, he was upstairs. He already knew the plot and the moral of the story when she approached him to share the inspirational film. He actually responded, indicating that he was aware of all of it. So his mum decided to test Akil by actually reading books in another room and then asking him questions about the content. And Akil answered accurately, demonstrating knowledge of what she was reading without any physical access to these books or to her at the time. Now, his mum preferred to call it a shared consciousness rather than observe it as telepathy. But she feels that Akil can access her mental blackboard, sharing thoughts seamlessly. And it was really quite impressive to hear about it. In fact, imagine, it can be really cool on the one hand, but I couldn't help when I was listening to it, think to myself, God, I have to be really careful of what I'm thinking. Your mind wanders sometimes, and it might wander to places that you don't want everyone to be aware of what you're thinking or the filth that goes on or whatever it is. I wonder if these parents of these autistic children actually get paranoid about that and what they're thinking and what wait a minute, what images are they seeing in my mind? I've just watched a movie on Keanu Reeves and the thoughts are coming in. Oh, must block it out. I don't know why it just came to my head. But this is such an interesting experience because both of these case studies just raise questions about consciousness, telepathy, the potential for minds to connect beyond our sensory channels. That's why when I'm dealing with clients who are saying about, I don't know if this is working because I haven't seen any movement or I haven't heard anything from my SP, it's like we've really limited ourselves to what we can physically sense, through these physical senses. I've limited myself to what I perceive in this physical reality, but there's so much more that I haven't been able to tap into for various reasons. Whereas you look at these case studies of these autistic children and their abilities suggest that our understanding of the mind and perception is actually really incomplete, and it actually provides this anecdotal evidence that could prompt further scientific exploration into telepathy and shared consciousness. Because, if these strong, deep connections can exist between individuals, and you hear about these stories all the time, then it may have implications for how we perceive human relationships and interactions. It actually opens for discussions about empathy, connectedness, and the boundaries of our individual consciousness. It's not maybe as we always thought that it was. So this is why I always say, focus on your internal state, shift your internal state, and allow everything else to be moved and everyone else to be moved to bring about your desires or to reflect your thoughts, your feelings. And it's things that if you dare to just assume and to imagine further than what you thought was possible as well, just imagine what incredible things you could bring about. Many of you have manifested miracles from your success stories. Even I don't feel like I could compare to them. Your success stories make me realize how many limits I still have imposed on myself even after all these years. So, by the way, keep your success stories coming. I'm posting them on my website on a regular basis so that all of you can access it. You'll always have an abundance of incredible success stories, they're so random in many cases, but again, it just shows what is possible and how the universe and people can be moved to work in your favor, whether it's a specific person you've had a relationship or not, whether it's someone you've met in person or not, whether it's a complete stranger. Everyone comes in to play their parts, and our thoughts, we often find, get mirrored back to us through this. And I'm actually tried a few times now to experiment with Joseph and to in my sort of shower imagining technique, to think of something and have some thoughts that I actually want to project to him. I've seen inconsistent results at the moment, so I'm working on that and harnessing that. But you guys give it a shot as well. Tell me what you think. Like I said, a few of you have emailed me and I've literally had to stop and wonder, did you read my mind? Because you'll give me suggestions, or you'll say things, or you'll discuss things that I was literally discussing just that moment. Is it a coincidence? Law of assumption would say there's no such thing as coincidence. You decide. Share with me in the comments below your experiences with thought transmission and telepathy. And thank you guys for joining me. I hope you found this helpful. Like and subscribe. Love you all for being here. And I'll see you in the next video.